Hello, everybody. Welcome to Take the Black Live. I am Dan Suck, the editor of winterscoming.net. I'm here with Cheryl Wassenaar, an editor at culturist.com. We are here to talk about all things Game of Thrones, song by some bio fantasy fiction, TV, movies, whatever, at Take the Black Live. Hello, Sheldon. Hello, Linda. Hello, Cindy. Hello, Diane. Hey, Julie Davis, of course. Dan Turton. Good to see everybody. And today you're coming on a special day because we are doing one of our giveaways. That's right. We do them here. We do them on Take the Black, on the Wick Club, where they're anywhere in the world. Today we are giving away a Game of Thrones tarot deck. Ooh. It's pretty nice. It actually is pretty cool. There's lots of cool cards with all the characters and the different kind of place names on them. And I don't do tarot myself, but if you are interested in the mystic arts, or whatever tarot is, we're going to give this away a little later in the show. That's a trivia question, but that'll be for a little later. First, to the news. And everybody joining us. Hey, Lisa, Mary, Terry, and Julie again. And Julie likes them. And I agree. The tarot cards are pretty cool. Like, honestly, I don't know how to do tarot, but the cards themselves are really neat. Yeah. And if you like it,
even better
for you. Okay. But that's later in the show that we're going to give that away. For now, we're going to hit some Game of Thrones news over the past week. And starting with a simple question for you, Cheryl. Is HBO trying to screw us?
Probably.
Okay. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. Why don't you explain it for the nice people watching, Dan?
Okay.
Or listening to our podcast.
So, it's available on iTunes and Google Play. Like and subscribe, yada, yada, yada. Okay. The gist is this. Game of Thrones Season 8, around the corner, coming in April, the final season of the show. HBO went to the trouble of shipping in some of the show's veteran actors, like Sean Bean was definitely a part of this, who played Ned Stark. Maybe some others. Khal Drogo was hanging around there for a while, which I'm betting, looking back, that's the reason he was in Belfast all those times. They filmed this big, cool reunion special where, like, Sean Bean and the current cast all sit around with Conan O'Brien and talk about, you know, just look back on the show, these historic 8 seasons that changed TV in a big way and changed all these people's careers. And it sounded like a really cool thing. I was, like, already looking forward to watching it when I heard about it, and like foreseeing how I'm going to mist up as they inevitably break down because they've just finished filming when they shot this. And now HBO has announced that this very cool Conan O'Brien hosted Game of Thrones reunion special will be available exclusively on the Game of Thrones seasons 1 to 8 complete box set. So, Cheryl, is this extortion? No, it's not. What is the bad word for what this is? Are they holding this hostage?
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yes, kind of. It's a jerk move. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a jerk move. I mean, I think HBO is gonna run into a problem, which is that some soul will purchase this complete box set and immediately put the reunion special on the internet.
Oh, like, I mean, I kind of think that is deserved.
Yeah, it kind of is.
I mean, come on. Like, you don't have enough money, HBO?
No.
We know you have enough money. There's no way you need to pull this to get people to watch. And they know that so many people would die to see. I would love to see that. I mean, they're fresh off from the final episode. They're all talking. I'm sure there'll be, like, you know, heart-rending moments. I would love to see that. And they're going to hold it hostage in this, what I'm sure will be a elaborately expensive box set? No. No. You don't get to do that. I mean, you do, but I will not like it. I'm speaking out against it. Dan Suck disapproves.
I mean, I also disapprove, but I'm not the editor of winterscoming.net.
Yes, Julie says it's called screwing us over. And I sort of agree. Come on, man. And you're right. They will totally get it online. Somebody will. And then we'll see who's the boss, HBO. They'll be online. You won't be able to stop us. We are Legion. So I just want to vent it about that. Yeah. Do you have any other opinions on it?
I mean, you basically said everything I wanted to say, but I will add in an extra eye roll of just, of course. Like, of course, HBO. That's, wow.
I mean, I'd expect this from AMC, but from you, HBO, come on.
Getting a little heated here between all the networks.
A little. HBO is like the premium quality network.
Yeah.
Okay. But, and we know that because, let me see, any comments on that? Lisa, of course, someone will, and I'm a fan of someone already. I agree, Lisa. Good on that someone. And yes,
If we had more beer, we'd pour one out.
Mary points out they've all watched the episode over and over. Like, we all know the episode, so why not show the reunion on HBO? I agree. Maybe they'll come to their senses. We'll see.
We got a while, so
we do have a few months. Okay. And we know that they can afford to do stuff like this because they are currently rolling out the marketing for season 8 in rather elaborate ways. This is a kind of, we don't really have to talk about this much, but it's going to be the pictures of them plastering ads all over Grand Central Station.
Yeah.
There are some pretty cool ones.
Dope.
Like they got Tyrion there on the pillars in the most populous, busy train station in New York City. I love that one. They got the For the Throne hashtag on the turnstiles. You cannot go anywhere in the station without being reminded that season 8 is definitely coming.
That is some commitment.
And the Metro cards. Like they just have the public transportation cards with Game of Thrones on them.
Okay.
I would hope for the Cersei one.
Yeah, I would actually love to have the Jon Snow one just because that's my face anytime I try and run a Metro card through the New York City subway. It's so hard. They're so weak.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Also, hold that for a second. Do you realize that 3 out of the 4 people in those cards are naked?
Yep.
Is that a coincidence? Are they trying to tell us something?
I mean, it is New York City.
What does that mean?
You can get weird in New York.
Okay, if you say so. But no, so that's fun, and that's happening.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll have a lot more marketing blitz between now and April, maybe a trailer by the end of the year. And again,
Fingers
proof
crossed.
that they do not need extra money from their Seasons 1 to 8 box set. I was going to buy it anyway, HBO. I'm kind of hung up on this.
You are a little bit.
Okay, I'm going to try to move on.
Okay.
Let's talk for a minute about George R.R. Martin. And I hear some people, and yes, Alba says, thank you, Torrent, my friend. God bless. I don't know what Torrent is, and I will speak no further on it.
Oh boy, Dan. My sweet summer child.
Exactly. Shh, just be quiet. Okay, let's talk briefly, different topic. George
Yes.
R.R. Martin has been still giving kind of tail-end interviews because Fire and Blood is out and being circulated. Do you plan to pick that up at all?
Eventually, yeah. I mean, I had to read. I had to read. I read The Sons of the Dragon in the Book of Swords because that is what I'm reading for book club this month. So, yay.
Was it good?
I mean, it's fine. It's like I was reading it and I was like, yeah, this is interesting, but everyone else wrote stories. You just wrote a history chapter, buddy. Like
He does have his way.
what is effort? But yeah, I mean, I probably will read it eventually. Like
It'd be a good over the Christmas break read or something.
yeah, I just have to like read it when I'm not somehow cranky at George R.R. Martin.
Sure. So find like the day of the year that's true. and
Yeah,
just go
there's
into
like
it.
one day of the year, and that day is past this year.
Although actually, when he was talking to I don't know, somebody or other, he pitched a really cool spin-off idea that I think is really neat. I want to read it for you now.
Okay.
Okay, so George R. R. Martin, Songfest Fire author, apparently pitched this or wants to HBO. A show called Spear Carriers. Dumb name, but the idea is fun.
Yeah, it's a dumb name.
Which would actually be set during the events of Game of Thrones, but it wouldn't be following Dany, Tyrion, and Jaime. They would all be there in the background like Hamlet, and it would be more like, here's a story about a guy in the city watch. Here's a story about a prostitute at one of Littlefinger's brothels. Here's a story about a mummer who's in town to do juggling and tricks. They all get caught up in the events. If the kind of show would be a lot of fun to do, maybe I'll be able to convince them to do it. I actually kind of love the idea. A Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead take on A Song of Ice and Fire.
But not funny.
It could be funny.
I mean, I feel like you're in at the crossroads idea is this but better because it's actually trying to be funny. This seems more like a way to even more shamelessly profit off of the popularity of Game of Thrones because you know that fans would like obsess over every single frame. Like, is that Dany's head? Is that her hair? Is that her hand?
Right, yeah, they
like, the concept is sound. The execution that he is proposing and the name are questionable.
That name is not great.
Spear.
But I mean, again, it's just like he just tossed it off for kicks. I don't think we need to get down on him too hard for this.
This is not the one day of the year where I'm not angry at George R.R. Martin, so
Okay,
I'm going to be
gotcha.
grumpy about it.
I think it's cute. Although, sure, if
Yeah.
I do, I guess in my heart of hearts, I want something that just goes away from the Game of Thrones story.
Yes.
But the idea is cool. It's a
Yeah.
neat thought experiment.
I don't hate it. It's just questionable.
Great. And let's see if we get any comments here. More talking about that torrent stuff. I mean, it's got a certain appeal. And one more time, if you do that HBO,
Okay.
And talk about something unrelated to Game of Thrones, because we here at Wick Take the Black Live have many interests.
We do.
Okay. Television. Everyone watches it. Everyone likes it. And it's changing. The news is that Netflix, the major streaming service, has now canceled a program called Daredevil about a Marvel superhero who is blind and a lawyer and played by
Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox. And it's interesting because this is actually the latest in a stream of Marvel superhero shows Netflix has canceled, starting with Iron Fist, starring Finn Jones, moving on to Luke Cage, starring a person's name I forget, and now Daredevil.
Mike Coulter.
Mike Coulter, you're good.
I am.
And it's surprising because, I mean, Marvel superheroes are the biggest thing at the movies right now. Like, they have been for a few years, and it's only going to get bigger. You look very upset.
I am very upset, Dan. Daredevil was my favorite Marvel Netflix show, so I'm a little sad about it.
I mean, and you weren't alone. It was the most popular Marvel Netflix show.
Yes.
According to one report, it was, like, in the week before it was canceled, I think it was the fourth most talked about show online. Like, behind stuff like, I don't know, some stuff that I didn't write down.
Yeah.
But SMB was popular.
Yeah.
And so the question is, why do they keep canceling these things?
Well, I think at this point, I believe I saw a report from a fairly, moderately, I guess, credible source saying that Netflix didn't cancel Daredevil, Marvel canceled Daredevil, which I could kind of see.
I'd buy it.
With the Disney Plus thing that's happening over there.
Yeah, Disney's making its own streaming service. And by the way, hello, Rodrigo. Thank you for browsing in.
And I think that probably had something to do with it. I'm just still upset because Charlie Cox made a really good Daredevil. I've also met him. Like
have you?
He did a signing at C2E2 this year. He was really nice and sweet. So like, I'm biased. Like, I liked Daredevil before, but now I'm just super biased. But like it seems weird, I guess. Like, I hope they revive Daredevil on Disney Plus in some way, shape, or form, and I think they could, probably with the cast and all of that.
I mean, they could do whatever they wanted to. At the end of the day, it's Disney.
But it just kind of seems, especially because the third season of Daredevil was really good.
It was solid. I watched it.
It's kind of painful to have it canceled. Because, I mean, Iron Fist, like, nobody liked Iron Fist. Danny Rand is a weenie. Like, I will fit that in as much as I can.
Sure.
But, like...
Show's been out there for 10 years. You're still bringing it up.
Yep. But Daredevil seemed to have a bigger kind of foothold in pop culture, as fractured as it is.
It did. I mean, it was the first Marvel Netflix show. And the third to go and the most popular. So, yeah, it's bizarre. And I don't think it could be anything else but a huge conspiracy among Disney and Marvel to squelch anything popular on Netflix so they can have it for themselves, is my opinion on what probably happened.
You're just going off on everything today, Dan.
I think the writing's on the wall, Cheryl.
It kind of is, yeah.
It makes sense to me. Like, there's not a coincidence these are all happening, that all these characters who are owned by Disney are losing their Netflix shows at a time when Disney is prepping its own streaming service. I don't think they want to share.
Disney Plus, bring back Daredevil, you cowards.
Or just fail and give back to Netflix because you're hurting people.
I mean,
like
I'd like the first over the second just because I really want to see the Diego Luna series, but we'll take it.
Samantha thinks they'll bring it back. He has too many fans to go away forever, and we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, he survived Ben Affleck. Like...
Oh, the character, sure.
Yeah, Daredevil,
exactly.
The character.
All right. Yes. You have any other comments on Daredevil or anything else, Cheryl?
I'm sad, Dan. I'm just sad. I really enjoyed Daredevil as a show. I really like Matt Murdock, his character. I really like the side characters and just the story and its tone and all of that. So I'm just upset, man. Had some of the greatest fight choreography, like, on television. Like, Game of Thrones is really good at epic fight choreography, but Daredevil has
intimate fight choreography.
I didn't know this was turning into an ASMR video, but okay. But for my money, Daredevil was probably one of the best small-scale fight choreography shows ever. Like, those hallway scenes, or like, okay, season 3.
Sure.
There are some beautiful fight choreography scenes.
The bit in the prison.
The bit in the prison, the bit when Bullseye shows up in the Daredevil suit.
Oh, yeah.
Spoilers. Like,
You're
good. So good. And now they're not going to do it anymore unless Disney Plus has mercy on our souls.
They aren't. We are all sad, but we are happy about giving away
Yes.
a Game of Thrones tarot deck. All right. We're going to give this away. I'm sorry, Cheryl, for your loss.
Thank you.
But it's time to give away a tarot deck, Game of Thrones tarot deck, beautiful cards, beautiful everything. The way we do this here is I'm going to ask a Game of Thrones trivia question.
I wrote it this time, guys.
And it was Cheryl's idea this time. She
Yes.
used the progenitor of this trivia question. And we're going to flash my email on the screen, dan.selke@winteriscoming.net. You guys are going to email your answers as fast as you can, and the first person to get the correct answer wins. I'll write you back, asking for an address, and then you write me back saying you confirm, and we'll send it out to you. Only this trivia question is a little bit different. It's a little bit unique, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Okay, the trivia question to win the Game of Thrones tarot deck is, name as many of Daenerys Targaryen's titles as you can.
Yes.
As fast as you can.
Yes.
And send me the email.
Fastest is bestest. We will check if you have right and wrong titles, etc., etc. But yes, fastest is bestest. And I will repeat the question because I wrote the question. I'm very proud of myself. So the question is, name as many of Daenerys Targaryen's titles as fast as you can and as accurately as you can.
Bam.
Order not required. You know,
No.
if you're out of order, that's fine.
Yeah. But if you get a wrong one, we're going to move on to the person who got a right one.
Yes.
So if somebody sends in 3 correct titles really, really quickly, that's great. But if the next person sends in 4 correct titles, that person will be the one to beat.
Yes.
All right. We'll see if this works.
Good luck, everyone.
Good luck, everyone.
So have fun with that.
And Cheryl, thanks for being here with us.
Of course.
We're gonna
I'm
bring
so glad
on,
I got to write the question.
Yeah, I'm happy about that too. It's pretty
Yeah.
fun. We're going to bring on Josh Hill for a Song of Ice and Fire after a quick break. See you soon.
Oh, Ned Stark, will you ever learn? Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I'm Dan Selke, the editor at winteriscoming.net, your one-stop shop for all things Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, and genre fiction in general. We here at Wick love bringing you news, reviews, and editorial content, and we're going to keep doing all that stuff. However, for the especially hardcore among you, we're going to start offering even more. Welcome to the Wick Club. The Wick Club is a Patreon-funded effort to provide fantasy and sci-fi fans with even more Wick content. You can join at several levels. For $1 a month, you can enter into monthly swag giveaways and get to read extra columns. At $4, you'll get to watch extra episodes of Take the Black Lie, our weekly chat show, with topics chosen by you. Please be gentle. And at the Valyrian Steel level, that's $10 a month, you get Wick Club t-shirts and access to a new segment we're calling Drinking and Knowing Things, a monthly live stream where I drink wine and talk with all of you in a free-flowing conversation about Game of Thrones, fantasy, sci-fi, and whatever else comes up after I've had a few. Just to be clear, we're not going to stop doing anything in Wick we already do, and we're hoping to add more stuff anyway. The Wick Club is a way to produce even more content, and hopefully to get to know some of you better. You can find links to more information below. We hope to see you in the Wick Clubhouse. Valar Morghulis, bottoms up, and thanks for watching.
Welcome back, everybody. I now have fansided.com's very own Josh Hill with us
Hello, everybody.
for A Song of Dan and Josh, the show where we go through every chapter of A Song of Ice and Fire and take it apart. What makes it tick, what makes it good, what makes it bad. And we are now on the very last chapter of A Game of Thrones, the
Yes.
first book in the series. Josh, What a long, strange journey it's been.
It was a long. I need to sign some yearbooks. Yeah, that's what you should do. You should sign books and send them out. Like, you didn't write them, but I've seen people do that before.
Have gross.
Well, I've not personally received any of these gifts, but yeah, it's seems like we just started it just yesterday. But
Yeah,
we are.
we're pretty fast. Before we start, though, you just finished doing the Fandom 250,
we
by the way.
did, yes.
The-
Game of Thrones was on the list.
Number 11, I think.
3 years running, yeah. Every year I think it's moved down, which is...
Well, wait for the next year. When
Yeah.
the final season, it will have no choice but to be way up top there.
Yeah.
Fandom 50 is a yearly ranking of the 250 top fandoms on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And the Game of Thrones fandom, you guys being very delightful and wonderful, always scores high. I think it was 11 this year just because there's nothing new this year.
Well, that's a testament to the fandom, too.
It really is,
Is that
yeah.
there hasn't been any episodes on for, well over a year,
Yeah,
right?
They still talk, though. They still tune in.
And the
People
fandom is
are
still up there with...
speculating and everything.
Higher than Star Wars, higher than Harry Potter. It's up there with, like, some of the NFL teams.
Was Star Wars getting notched down because everybody was ragging on The Last Jedi so much?
It got notched down because of the reason people were
Oh.
hating on The Last Jedi, so... Which doesn't exist
Gravity
in
in
Game of
space?
Thrones, it seems. So it seems like it's a
Oh,
loving fandom.
there are folk who don't like the story, but there are also folk who love it.
Yeah.
It's like any other fandom. It's got your true
Dark
believers and
corners
your
and-
of course any fandom has that. But it's a wonderful fandom overall. Obviously,
To be the 11th in the world is
Yeah.
impressive.
Anyway,
On and off year, too.
exactly. And Renee says hi,
Hi.
and let's start.
Let's do it.
So Daenerys,
The end is near.
10. Exactly
Yeah.
10. Final chapter of Game of Thrones. Okay, so give me your gut impression of it, your gut reaction.
I mean, this was like the big finale episode with your iconic Dany and fire moment. So,
Yeah, it really
which
was. It was pretty iconic.
Which
looking.
I was actually looking forward to reading because it was, you know what it looks like visually, and it was
Right.
a huge moment for the show and all this. But how do you... It's the reverse effect where it's like you read something like Harry Potter and you're like, well, how do you make this into a movie? It's the reverse. So I've seen it in the TV show. I'm like, well, how is he going to write this into a
Make it into a
chapter?
book.
Make it as interesting.
I'll tell you how, using really elaborate language. I
Yeah.
wrote down some stuff. So
Big time.
This is the chapter where Dany's dragons are born. The end of Game of Thrones, the big climax. I loved it.
And Dany is born in a
Oh.
in a lot of ways.
Kabam,
So
as the
there you
mother
go.
of dragons. But yeah, he uses, I really like the language he uses for the fire, because that moment from the show that's iconic is her looking at her husband's body burning,
Yep.
and Jorah's like, don't do it, and she walks into the fire anyway, which is crazy, because why would you do that? That's not a good idea. But
No.
described from her perspective, it makes a weird kind of sense. Like George R. Martin puts it like this: huge orange gouts of flame unfurled their banners in that hellish wind, the logs hissing and crackling, glowing cinders rising on the smoke to float away in the dark like so many newborn fireflies. She was the blood of the dragon, and the fire was in her. I ain't done. She saw crimson fire lions and great yellow serpents and unicorns made of pale blue flame. She saw fish and foxes and monsters, wolves and bright birds and flowering trees, each more beautiful than the last. She saw a horse, a great gray stallion, lined in smoke, its flowing mane a nimbus of blue flame.
Nimbus of
A
blue
nimbus
flame.
of blue
It's
flame.
great.
So he is like has a serious word crush on this fire.
Oh, he was saving this all for the last chapter too. He was sitting on this for so long, and he just wrote the hell out of
I
this
mean,
chapter.
it's almost like it's like he's described. It feels like she's a pyromaniac.
Yeah.
Like she's looking at this fire and saying like, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
But she's seeing her destiny is what
She-
she's seeing.
yes.
So that's why it works. It's like she's so excited by her future, what is ahead of her, her potential. And we've seen her grow, or read her grow, I guess you could say,
Sure.
from when
It's
we
like
first
seeing- I
met
think
her
it's
to like, because I keep forgetting that the ages are different from the book to the show.
Right.
So she's even younger in the show, or in the book,
The
than
books,
she is in
yeah.
the show,
Like
which makes
13
it
or
more
something,
impressive.
14.
Yeah, so here's this 13, 14-year-old girl who's gone through all of this crap that we've seen, and now she is realizing she's coming of age in a way through fire. Literally, fire is
Trial by fire, yada, yada,
forging
yeah.
her future, and that's the way that he described it. It's a little flowery, and it's a little, he chuckle at it a little bit, but he's like really describing it's intuitive.
I mean,
like
yeah,
it.
it's potent. It's supposed to be potent.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be kind of mythic. And this whole chapter, what I liked about it is the whole thing felt eerie in a way that just you don't normally see.
Very mystical.
Yeah, mystical. Because what I liked about it was that the whole time, like, Daenerys clearly has a plan. Like, it starts with her gathering brush fire for this pyre she's making, and you know, she's talking about how she's wondering, like, how many people did Aegon have when he conquered the Seven Kingdoms? It doesn't matter. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, last chapter, she was trying desperately to save Khal Drogo and suffocated him, and she has a certainty here, like a kind of eerie, weird calm.
Yeah.
And it's a little creepy. And she doesn't let us into what she's doing. Like, she's building a pyre and burning her husband and walking on it. But she never, like, says, my plan is to walk into the fire and then survive it, impossibly, and then be reborn and have a bunch of dragons to help me.
Which is
like,
why it's so brilliant that it's told from her perspective, because she knows. Like,
Yeah,
there's no
it's
need
just
for explanation.
intuitive.
She knows in her head what she's going to do. So there's no, you don't need, oh, yes, I'm going to walk through here, blah, blah, blah. This is my plan. It's, you know, at the end of all the Bond movies, the Bond villain gives away the plan. There's no need for that. And the fact that it's coming from her perspective, which has been established throughout this book as we're going to get inside of their heads and figure out what they're thinking, to not know what she's thinking, yet know exactly what she's doing, is great.
Like, you know what she's feeling, and you can feel her certainty, but you don't know her plan. Just she's being drawn by something. Like, I wrote it down, her internal thoughts. Like, Dany called the Dothraki around her. Fewer than 100 were left. How many had Aegon started with? She wondered. It did not matter. Like, she just she just knows she knows what she's doing is right, even though it's, like, objectively insane. And Jorah is like the voice of reason here. He's like, hey, don't do this, you stupid young idiot. He basically asked her to run away with her.
Yeah.
Like, let's go to Karth and Yee and Ashai, and we'll drink all this cool wine. And, well, I mean, is it
Weirder because she's 13 or 14 or whatever. Not as weird in the show, but
right. I mean, he could still want to save her life. He hasn't shown sexual interest in her up to this
that's true.
point,
But
really.
like, knowing their relationship, I
Yeah,
entered
yeah,
into that
it's
with
hard
that
not to
kind
see
of
it.
knowledge.
But yeah, so he's kind of it's interesting to think about how to adapt this for the show, because it so much is about the tone. And I guess Emilia Clarke just kind of carried on her face, because we're not in her head in the show, so we just have to. She has to project utter confidence, whereas here he can write it out. What else happens in this one? Blah. Oh, this is also kind of the emergence of spooky, calm, kind of a brutal Dany.
Yeah.
Like, she has moments in the show, you know, where Emilia Clarke, like, stares into the middle distance and her voice goes really flat, and she just, like, orders her dragons to fry people alive.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bit in here where she ties Miri Mazdur, the witch woman, to the pyre, and the witch woman is like, hey, idiot, you don't know what you're doing. Untie me, and I will help you. And she just says, I am tired of the mage's brain. And then one of her dudes whips her. He stops. And I saw Emilia Clarke there. I saw the exact facial expression she makes, like the dead eyes, like the staring away, and it just kind of worked.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, the evolution of Dany, her checking out of her humanity almost. Just
Yeah,
like,
a little
this
bit.
needs to be done, so we need to do it.
Exactly.
Forged from fire.
Speaking of, like, you're someone who watched the show first and then came to this. Like, are you picturing Emilia Clarke the entire time here? Okay.
Yeah. It's hard not to. I mean,
Sure.
So, but yeah, I was definitely picturing her. And that's why it keeps throwing me off with the age, because I'm picturing as the show, so not as a 13-year-old. But
And then finally, at the end of the chapter, how is this as an ending to the book? You know what? I didn't write it down, but I'm going to read the end really fast.
there we go.
It's a good ending.
I do love the fireside chats with Dan. It's great.
As Daenerys Targaryen rose to her feet, her black dragon, pale smoke venting from its mouth and nostrils, the other two pulled away from her breasts and added their voices to the call, translucent wings unfolding and stirring the air, and for the first time in hundreds of years, the night came alive with the music of dragons. And that's the final line. How is this as a final scene for a book?
I mean, we've been talking about the window dressing for the past couple of chapters here, but this does feel like a branch extending to the next book, and it captures your interest. You're like, what the hell does that mean? Like, you go off, it's a really strong chapter to end on, because it is very mystical. It's very visceral, as far as, like, you're imagining this, both the fire and the action that's going on and the creation of this character. She's literally like a phoenix rising from the ashes here. She's walking into the flames and forging her future. So it's interesting in that we started the book thinking that Ned was going to be the main character.
Sure.
This is going to be a conventional fantasy story and blah, blah, blah. And then it takes just a left turn after left turn after left turn. And it's perfect that it ends on this creation of a new main character. We have Danny.
like
this is
that.
Danny's story now in a lot of ways. We still have John and we have all these other characters who as we know will no longer be with us very soon.
Sure.
Which even more highlights the fact that this is Danny's story. This is where it becomes a game of Danny. This is her story. So I really like that this was that you ended on it. The unconventional nature of the book and ending on an unconventional chapter like this is fitting.
It is kind of cool. And it also kind of bookends the story, too, because remember, like, for the great majority of this book, everything in between, it's Ned trying to navigate politics and failing. It's, Sansa and Arya both
As
kind of
real world as you can get.
very real world.
Yeah.
The first chapter is about ice zombies. The last chapter has dragons. Everything in between is just like things that could conceivably happen.
Yeah.
And these are both fantastical things. So it's good structurally. And again, it's a good example of a cliffhanger that does what a cliffhanger should do, like get you interested in what's happening. It's not like, there's a car coming right at you. Cut away, tune in next week. It's this big new move has happened. There's a game-changing element. Dragons are involved in the story now. It will go somewhere new now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a very, very strong way to end a book and very well written.
And it translates to the show, too, because this was the last
yeah, it
episode of
was.
season 1, right?
I think the only time they've done that.
Yeah, so, and it was such a great cliffhanger for the end of the season, which is the same thing with the book where we get to fly right into the next one, but he writes it, publishes it, you got to wait for him to write the next book and come out with it. Same with the show. So that it worked so well as the end of this book and it works so well as the end of the first season, I think, is really all you need to know.
Yeah, and the first season is the one that adapts it most closely, and now we're going to get more fun because it's going to kind of go further and further afield until we're basically somewhere completely new. Really quick difference. This seems adapted pretty faithfully, like they didn't change a whole lot. They did cut Dany's all her hair burning off.
Oh, yeah.
They kept that, or they did not keep that. And they cut her furious lactation while she's standing there naked while the dragons drink from her breast.
For
Good
obvious
idea?
reasons.
Yeah, that would look.
I don't think that could get past the censors at HBO. I know it's
What
premium
censors at HBO?
I know it's premium cable, but they have a limit. Could you imagine how much more people would have gone after them for the gratuitous sex and violence if they had included
it's
that?
not gratuitous. It's just weird.
It is, but I don't know. At that point, it could be pretty gratuitous. It's just gross.
Also
that.
I think he's going for like
Nobody likes
symbolism,
warm milk.
like
Warm milk is
mother,
gross.
but
Yeah.
it's just no. There's no way that would not look silly.
Hard pass on that.
The hair probably a good call to not burn that off too.
Well, that's very much a vanity aesthetic. That's,
Hey, save on wigs.
It's television, so
Yes.
yeah, that's why.
Anyway, that's a Game of Thrones. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. We of course will be reading A Clash of Kings in the new year, but I think next week we're going to do a Game of Thrones retrospective. Look over the whole book. What are our favorite chapters, favorite characters, favorite stories? Any parts that dragged? What parts stood out? And how does it all fit into the magic that is A Song of Ice and Fire?
Should do a clip show.
Sure, get on that, Richard. If you don't want a weekend. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll be back next week at 4 p.m. Central to talk more Game of Thrones, more Song of Ice and Fire, more Song of Dan and Josh, and looking forward to seeing you then. Adios.
See ya.